What are your thoughts on free will?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is such an interesting topic, right? Because we're a species that is supposed to have free will.
Mhm.
But then when you like start diving into this deeper, you wonder, do we really have free will? Because we if the story's already written, then surely we think that we're making these choices. But if the story's already written, I walk out of my house, right? Should I go left or right today? Oh, you know what? I'm going to go right. But if I was always going to go right, then did I really actually make that choice? So maybe there's an illusion of free will. Maybe there
Mhm.
really is free will. Whether we may, maybe we'll find that out when we pass back to spirit and we
Yeah.
get look back in at the game. But right now, I mean, you'd think that we had a choice, but if the story's already written, do we? That's,
Really?
yeah, it's like it fascinates me this.
Me too. Welcome back to the Sacred Soul podcast. I'm super excited for today's guest, Jerry Sargeant. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Vanessa. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I love to ask people a philosophical question. Who are you and who are you not?
Hmm. You know what? I think, both questions are the same thing in a way, because I am just being whatever I am in the moment. I'm just kind of flowing and unfolding and constantly shifting and changing and just trying to stay in the present moment and just observe reality around me and just, show up fiercely, ferociously, just 100 and 1,000,000% all in on whatever I do. And I'm here to help humanity. I'm here to love myself. I'm here just to be with my sisters and brothers and just go on this human journey, have this human experience, and help people raise their frequency, help people go through this ascension process, help people facilitate their own healing. I'm so many things and I'm not anything at the same time. So yeah, I mean it's so hard in this human world in a way to not put yourself in a box. So answering that question, I don't want to box myself up and put any labels on myself. At the same time, there are so many things that I'm involved in, that I do, that I share with people. Yes, it's an awesome question.
Yeah. And you're right. It's like when we put ourselves in a box, that's when we're limiting ourselves. And I ask myself that question probably at least once a week. And I love how it changes. Every week it's a little different. And then if I look at it from month to month, it's like really different. And so I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'm just shape shifting, expanding, growing, changing, all the things.
Yeah, I mean the thing is in on this planetary environment and with the work that we do, like if you're not constantly shifting, if you're not constantly changing and evolving, you end up getting sucked back into the madness and the chaos and you end up sliding backwards. So, you got to kind of stay on that vibration on the crest of the wave and just keep going and allowing yourself to be more in every moment, and not get sucked up into programs that are going to kind of like tear you apart and tear you down. It's a fine balance, really, navigating this human experience.
Mm. Yeah, and I love what you said, allowing yourself to be more in every moment. That is so powerful. So powerful. You mentioned ascension. How do you define ascension?
For me, ascension is like a multifaceted, multi-leveled kind of process. So it's about going through these kind of dimensional gateways. So like this fifth dimensional space that we're kind of moving through into, it's all about, recognizing the polarity, the contrast. And then, at the upper ends of the fifth dimension, kind of moving into unity. And then through the sixth dimension, really kind of embracing unity consciousness. And I think a lot of people think that they embrace it now, but we're so far away from unity consciousness that we're touching upon it and we're getting into it. But it's easy to kind of like be there in one space, like I'm doing this and I'm doing this for humanity or whatever it is. But then on the other kind of side of the coin, there's like judgment and this and we're kind of tipping in and out, and that's okay because it's like this pendulum tipping out of the 0 point, and we have to tip out of the 0 point and have the contrast to remind ourselves to come back to the center. So we're kind of swaying as a human species at the moment, coming back to that kind of 0 point, so we remember where we want to be, and that is to kind of be unified and to know that there's oneness and that we are all one. But to take that to the level that we need to be at, it's a massive thing. And I think we don't realize how big of a mission it is. At the same time, it's really simple, but we make things so flipping complicated as humans, and we get away from that simplicity. So ascension is kind of finding that unification, that balance, that alignment, that integrity. And then from there, really moving into the sixth dimension and unity consciousness, and then just keep raising the levels, living from a space of love, a space of presence, a space of truth. There's no room for any kind of dishonesty, any kind of like fractals that are out of alignment. It's like a multifaceted, multidimensional jigsaw puzzle that we're trying to just move into peace and harmony. And there's so many pieces flying around. And that's like on one level. Then there's this other level, which is kind of geometrical and mathematical in terms of how we need to restructure and recalibrate our own internal mathematics to raise our levels of DNA so we can become more activated, more powerful, and switch on our full superhuman potential. And remember that we're Stargate guardians that came to planet Earth to be sacred custodians of this beautiful green and blue ball, and remember how to travel multidimensionally, interdimensionally, and use the stargates to travel on and off planet, take these human vessels with us if we want. And so there's all these different layers and levels to it, which aren't even layers and levels, because there isn't really any layers and levels. That's only a human thing, but it's just a good way to
Mm.
describe it.
Yeah, yeah. And how are you helping people raise their frequency and upgrade their DNA?
So, I mean, Star Magic Healing is our kind of mission business. And so through that, we have a meditation app where people can engage every day. And there's all these different tools: breath work, meditation, intermittent fasting, cold showers, light language transmissions, light codes, mystery school teaching, just a whole array of different tools, and a beautiful community that people can engage in. So every day they're staying sort of like plugged in, and you have to stay plugged in on a daily basis. This isn't one of those things where you can say, oh, you know what, I'll do some work on Saturday, maybe next Tuesday. If you've got that kind of attitude, you're going to go 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 3 steps back. So it's got to be a constant progression, stepping stones, always doing the work. And Infinity provides that. We train people how to facilitate healing. So there's lots of other people going out into the world, thousands of people that have remembered star magic, not learned it, but remembered it. And they're using star magic in their own healing businesses or starting their own healing businesses, new ones. Yeah, we run like DNA activation workshops, third activation workshops. We do plant medicine retreats, and we're building our first healing center at the moment in Transylvania and Romania. So there's so many things that we're doing, like our team's growing all the time, and I'm so grateful to be surrounded by awesome people that want to help us on this mission, because it's massive. So yeah,
Yeah.
like for me, it's not work. It's just every day getting up and creating and just doing beautiful things that, give like providing tools to people so they can help themselves. Because I think what's important is to let people know that no one can really heal anyone else. Like, I mean, you go to our website, it's like, oh, Jerry's an energy healer. But really and truthfully, I can't heal anyone, but I can just set up an environment so a human being can facilitate their own healing, or so their body can recalibrate. So we have all these tools that we use to create like a space or a container so the human body can move into homeostasis and recalibrate and realign and let the body do what it does best, and that is self-heal, expand, grow, elevate. So we've got all these tools to help people do that.
Yeah, and your work is so amazing. I mean, I look at the videos and I'm just like I'm lit up because one, because of the impact that it makes on people's lives, and two, it also has its own experience. And I think I've heard you say on other podcasts, I think I've heard you describe like how your energy work or what you teach others and so that others can teach others. Um, I think I've heard you describe how it works, but is there a difference between your flavor of energy work and others?
You know, like a lot of people say, what's the difference between Reiki or quantum
Hmm.
healing or whatever it might be, reconnective healing? I've never done anything else. I came from my old world straight into star magic, but we've trained like a lot of people, Reiki masters and people from all different healing modalities, and they all say that it's faster, it's stronger, and it lasts. It takes people to where they need to be quicker. So, like, I see star magic as kind of the next level of healing because otherwise, why would all these people that have been doing healing for 40, 50 years want to come to us to train? You know, when other people like use frequency to heal, they often use their hands, they run energy through their body. With us, we're playing with the codes in the empty space. So I look at someone's body as a computer system and I see all of these programs running, which are past lives, future lives, present day life experiences. I mean, in linear time, there's past and future, but once you get out of the body into the quantum, it's just now. So really, they're just parallel experiences because we're souls having multiple experiences. And in the field, there's all these different experiences happen, some positive, some negative, and they're creating programs in the human biofield. So what we do is we go in and we change the programming in the back end of the computer system, and then the physical healing takes place. So we're not kind of using our own energy, and they're like trying to heal someone like that. It's just sort of being intelligent with the way that we play with the frequency, and treat it as a mathematical equation. And when you do that, things just happen really quickly.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I've done a lot of reconnective healing when I was doing more healing within my business. And so as a healer, yes, there's differences, slight differences between all the different modalities, and it's not about what's better or worse or anything. It's literally about I think just expanding with what's going to be relevant and current and efficient for us too. Um, and I think running my personal experience, running energy through the body can be a little exhausting for the person who's facilitating it. Any thoughts on that?
Definitely. I mean, we've got 45 miles of electrical wiring in our body, our nervous system. And you know, you've got 4,000 nerve endings in each hand. So a lot of people tend to run frequency through their hands. But when you do that, you overload the electricity in the body. So people get vertigo, heart issues, kidney, liver, tight chest, headaches, migraines, all different symptoms. But what we help people do is to activate their full nervous system and to activate their DNA properly. So with star magic, it's about preparation. So, like, we're not going into a healing session and thinking, right, how can I heal this person? We already know how we're going to heal them before we've even met them a year or two before because our whole body is primed for healing. So when I go into a healing session, I might look at their photo, look into their eyes, they'll be in another country. I bring up their hologram. I open my heart, connect, and just be very still. And then just where there's a few questions that we ask, and then boom, everything's kind of opened up. And then I'll just sit there and be very still. And because my body is primed and there's electrical and electromagnetic frequency codes pumping out from me, everything just starts to do its own thing. And so it's effortless. So the work is the preparation. You
Hmm.
know, it's like whether you want to be a sportsman or a pianist or whatever it is in life, you know, you can't just jump on stage and play an amazing like set on the piano. You got to practice for days and months and years to be an amazing pianist. And healing's no different. You know, the more you get yourself into that really present state of awareness and you really tune yourself into the earth frequencies, the star frequencies, when you go to do a healing session, it's just easy and it should be effortless, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It should be effortless. That's why I think just expanding into how, the things that are accessible to us, the codes, the activations, the different modalities like star magic, if it could help us be more efficient and effortless in our service to others and setting that container, that environment, it's like bonus points.
Absolutely. And like coming back to these other healing modalities, like they've all got their place,
Yeah.
because we're 9 billion wild, crazy, chaotic humans with all these different soul experiences, all in this big soup of experience. And we're on different frequencies. We look at things from different perspectives. So there might be a whole bunch of people that really suit one healing modality, and a whole bunch of other people that might suit another one. And then for that period of time, whether it's a year or 3 years, that's great for them. And then they can maybe explore something different. But everything has its place. And like I always say, like I'm so grateful for Reiki, because if it wasn't for Reiki, it would be really difficult for star magic to even like get clients, because most of our clients are Reiki masters and Reiki healers. So Reiki's opened people up to healing for a long, long time. And if we had to just come in and say, right, we've got these extraterrestrial light frequencies and we can do healing, people are like, what are you talking about? But because people have been opened up to it, they're at a certain level, they've got a certain perspective on it, and they understand it at wherever they're at. And so it's easy for us to bridge the gap from where they are to where we are now. It might be a too big a gap from no healing to star magic. I don't know, because I've never been down that road, but that's just kind of the way I see it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Do you believe in life purposes?
I don't really believe in anything. So I'm always like saying to people, like, let's transcend belief systems.
Right.
Because belief systems are based on thoughts, and thoughts, if you trace them back to their origin, link into time, distance, and measurement, and none of those exist in the field. So all belief systems are like concepts. So
Yeah.
it's about transcending beliefs and coming into that space of internal knowing. But yeah, I think we come to this earth with a purpose. We come to this earth on divine assignment with a divine mission. And again, we're different humans, and we've all got something so unique and radical to offer the total human experience. And it's about each and every single one of us, like blooming and blossoming like flowers and sharing our own individual aromas. And, we're so caught up on what this person's doing or what that person's doing. But really, we've all got magic inside of us. So if we allow ourselves to just do our own inner work, we're going to discover our own divine assignment, our own mission, our own purpose. And so, yeah, we've definitely all got a purpose. And some of those people's purposes are just to be. Like, we work with a lot of parents, and they come to us and they say, my child, look at my child. It's got Down syndrome. He or she's got Down syndrome. Make him like a normal child. Make her like a normal child. I'm like, what do you mean, make her like a normal child? This beautiful soul is so special. And the
Right.
reason they're in this kind of body that can't function like a normal human is because they're literally just here to emit frequency. They're like a pillar, like a beacon, and they're in their pushchair. Like we'll be at like a mind body spirit festival, and people will walk at their kids and say, "Please make them normal." And I'm like, I tap into the child's field, and I'm just crying because they're just so pure. And if
Wow.
they were in like another body, like and going to school and getting programmed, they may not be able to emit those beautiful frequencies.
Ah.
So there's so many different levels of what's going on, but we've all got a purpose, you know?
Yeah, and that was a beautiful illustration because I just had chills when you were describing like looking into their eyes and feeling their vibration and their frequency and it bringing tears to your eyes because you could feel that purity. And I've also I could relate to that because I could think of people in my life and I feel the same way in their presence and it's just so incredible. When did you start to really grasp your divine assignment?
Well, it all started back in 2004, when I was around 27, 28 years old with a car crash. I was in a car crash where the taxi that I was in ran three ladies over, and the first one came through the windscreen, got flipped over the car and died. And I saw a soul leave her body when I got out of the car. And that was what kind of woke me up. That was back in 2004, 2005. We didn't start Star Magic to 2016. So between 2004 and 2016, I went on a crazy journey like a self-healing journey, understanding the universe, the corruption in the system, in our world, like just so many different facets of reality. And the universe was kind of preparing me to do star magic, but all the time I was resisting it so much. My old life was very different, and it was easy for me to make money. And all my mates thought I was nuts coming out and talking about angels and fairies and extraterrestrials and stuff. So, like, it was a big kind of like transition to come into this like space of, right, I'm going to come out and do star magic. But ultimately, when I did it, it felt absolutely 100% like this is what I need to do. So it was like a long sort of like phase of preparation and resistance, and I'm going to do it, no I'm not, and all this sort of stuff. And then in the end it was like, right, I've got to do it now. The universe sort of kicked my ass so much and railroaded me into this process where I didn't really have a choice in the end. But like, even though I didn't have a choice, it felt good to make the choice that I did make to go on this mission. Yeah, so it was, there wasn't really one defining moment. It was a whole like series of events that prepared me for this.
Yeah. So now I want to go down a tiny tangent. You said something, you didn't have a choice, but you did make a choice. What are your thoughts on free will?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, this is such an interesting topic, right? Because like we're, you know, we're a species that is supposed to have free will.
Mhm.
But then when you like start diving into this deeper, you wonder, do we really have free will? Because, like, you know, we if the story's already written, then surely we think that we're making these choices. But if the story's already written, I walk out of my house, right, should I go left or right today? Oh, you know what? I'm going to go right. But if I was always going to go right, then did I really actually make that choice? So maybe there's an illusion of free will. Maybe there
Mhm.
really is free will. Whether we may, maybe we'll find that out when we pass back to spirit and we
Yeah.
get look back in at the game. But right now, I mean, you'd think that we had a choice, but if the story's already written, do we?
Do
That's, you know,
we?
yeah, you know, it's like it fascinates me this, you know.
Me too. Me too. And sometimes I think I think we're just not supposed to know. Um, because if we had 100% clarity on us not having a choice, like would we rebel, like, or rebel against that? I don't know. Like it's, and I do a lot of astrology and human design, and I help people find their life purpose and like all of that through those modalities. But it's just really interesting. It's you know, I try not to or I try not to attach to it, and I'm just like, this is just one of life's, you know, interesting mysteries.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, you know, does it matter? Because I have some deep conversations, you know, with people, my girlfriends, whoever it might be, and we'll sit there like talking about stuff for ages, and then you look into each other's eyes, and it's like, does it really matter? Like, we've been talking about this stuff for ages, and it's interesting. And I think sometimes we have these conversations to amuse ourselves and entertain ourselves, but ultimately, none of it matters. You know, none of it really matters. It's just like, we're here right now. Let's just enjoy this moment, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that perspective. I love that perspective. Our logical human brain is always trying to figure things out. And you're right. Like, does it really matter? So I want to go back to your initiation story. The car accident, and then you know, going from 2004, the spirit or universe or yourself launching you into your healing journey and self-expansion and all of those things. Um, when did you, was it 2016 where like you finally made the decision, or that was like the choice? Was that, or was it a little bit before that? Or like, was there still resistance as you were already launching Star Magic?
Yeah. So like, I lived in New Zealand for a little while, and when I came back from New Zealand in 2012, I ended up getting arrested at the airport. Not the airport, the passport office when I went to renew my passports to travel. And I went through this court case, and I kind of said to the universe, listen, you know, I was looking at a long prison sentence. So I said, listen, get me off this court case. and I promise you, I'll do star magic. I'll throw my heart and soul into it. So when I went to court, I ended up going through this process. What the judge's accomplished, she had wings on her back. I could see them, and she winked at me. And I was like, no way, I'm going to get off this. So to cut a long story short, I ended up getting off this prison sentence. And I walked out the courtroom and I was like, right, that's it. Star magic. I've got to do it now. Like there's no choice. This is it. I've sort of like made that kind of decision, that choice to go for it. So when I walked out the courtroom, which was 2015, I was kind of focused on that. And then 2016, I think it was March 2016, we started Star Magic. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And so for people who are also transitioning into their divine assignments, their life purposes, whatever it is they're here to do, whether it's for a certain period of time or maybe forever, resistance is just one of the things that a lot of us face over and over again. And it seems like even when we have our airplane in the air, resistance still comes through. Do you have any insight or suggestions or advice on that?
Yeah, I think like resistance, like letting go is a program. People say, well, let go, let go, let go. But I think letting go is a program. I think resistance is a program. I think everything is some form of program. But if we can just be present and just be right now, then we enter the eternal flow. And that's when the magic happens. So
Mm.
it's about kind of being in that space of stillness, of observation, of presence, and just allowing yourself to move into the flow of the river and then flow down the river out into the ocean of life and connect to source. Like, if you look at love just flows out from our heart and it's supposed to flow to the ocean of God. But most of us seem disconnected because we put dams in the way. We block the heart. We have all these things running like to protect ourselves. We stifle this flow of energy. I was reading this book the other day and it said I was laughing so much. It said like when it, like in life we have like water in the river, right? And water flows out into the ocean. And it was like whenever do you see water at the crossroads, asking the police officer which way it is to the ocean. Like the water just knows how to get to the ocean.
Right.
And love knows how to flow into the heart and out of the heart, back to the ocean of God. But because we're humans and we think and we get in the way, we block that flow. So as soon as we kind of enter that present moment, all of those dams just dissolve. And then the water flows and the love flows. And then we just become the magic, we become the alchemy, we become all of the things that are just beautiful about humans. And then we don't even have to try too hard because everything just flows and the universe moves things into alignment because we become whole. And then we've just got to take a little bit of action here or there. It's so
Yeah.
much easier when we actually become still, but we've been conditioned to move into the future, think about the past.
Yeah. And the program of control.
Yeah, we want to control. But as soon as you become present, there's no control. You
Right.
don't need control when you're
You
present.
don't need it.
Yeah, so that presence, it takes away everything, and it's very difficult to stay there because the mind just starts ticking again. But that's why the discipline and the devotion and the commitment and the focus comes in to work every day on yourself a bit, you know?
Yeah. So powerful. Powerful. Do you have any interesting stories or experiences in the astral realm that you
In
could
terms
share?
of like extraterrestrials
Yeah.
or
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, so many. I remember back to like 2004 when I first started this spiritual journey. Like some friends of mine, uh, two of them and me, we went to this kind of talk on it was the Mayan calendar, the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012. And so we went to this talk, and this guy was giving this talk. And when he was giving the talk, I asked him like a contradictive question. And he stopped and he looked at me and his face disappeared and there was a green lizard there. And I was like, what the heck is this? Like, I'd never seen anything like it. Like on the outside, I was trying to look really cool and really calm. On the inside, I was like melting a bit. So I'd never experienced anything like this. I didn't know this stuff existed. So, and then his face kind of turned back a few seconds later, and he was psychically attacking us later on in the evening. Then I got introduced to my first spirit guide called James, who, you know, I've been working with him now for 20 odd years. So that was like my first kind of introduction really to the astral. Um, I mean, I've brought my light out of my body so many times and traveled. Back in 2009, I was in a pyramid in New Zealand with my friend, in my friend's garden. He had a copper pyramid, and a space pod landed in the garden. So I brought my light out of the body, went and got in the space pod, and they flew me through a tunnel, like a portal, to Alpha Centauri, and I met all of my Lyran family. Like 200 of these are kind of 6.5, 7 foot blue beings, and they hugged me, and I felt so much love. I remember back in 2014, I was with my ex-wife, and we'd kind of split up for a little bit. And so I just moved out of the house, and I went back one evening to have dinner with her and the kids. And afterwards, I was sat in the living room, and we were just chatting, and this massive wave of energy came through the house, and it kind of knocked me on my back. And the next thing, boom, my consciousness is out of my body, and I was everywhere. I was literally absolutely through the whole multiverse at the same time. It was a feeling of just expansive love, like I could just be everywhere, and I was everywhere. And then the next thing, I don't know how much time passed because I kind of just lost sense of all of time. The next thing, I'm outside the front door of the house in the road, taking all my clothes off, crying my eyes out because I was so hot, burning up like crazy when my light had come back into my body without me even realizing it. And I was just trying to cool down. I've had that kind of experience. I've met loads of like extraterrestrials on my travels. I've been to lots of other planets. Um, I've met like interdimensional beings in this reality. We do a lot of shadow parasite work, like negative interdimensional entities that are in humans. We take them out, get rid of them, spells, black magic, that sort of thing. I mean, there's so many stories. Yeah, I mean, if you've got anything specific you want me to talk about, let me know, and I'm happy to dive into anything, you know?
Yeah, that was a great introduction to some of your experiences. I think I had heard one on another one of your videos recently. Um, let's see. I think people have a lot of questions around ETs, right? Are there some living amongst us? And why?
Absolutely. So, I mean, first of all, when you look at extraterrestrials, I mean, maybe we're extraterrestrials too.
Yeah.
You know, and like if you look at another being from another planet, we say, well, they're aliens, but you know, maybe we're alien to them. When I'm walking down the road, you know, I see what is underneath some of these human like avatars, and a lot of, you know, humans are just beautiful souls, consciousness in human bodies, but you see some other beings too. You know, my daughter was walking through town, and she saw this old man sitting on a bench, and he clocked her, and she realized he was a reptilian. So he's got up and walked into the bank. So my daughter waited outside the bank, and he never came out. She walked into the bank and he was gone. So he'd shapeshifted into another body and came out, and she didn't cotton on to that. Um, there's so many different experiences. There's definitely ETs walking amongst us, loads of beings that are helping us. And when I say reptilians, I'm not necessarily talking about a bad negative being, because
Right.
most reptilians are beautiful and kind and loving.
Sure.
But like
Mhm.
some humans are not very nice. You know, some Palladians are not very nice. Some Syrians are not very nice. There's nice and not very nice beings in all different parts of the galaxy, you know? So yeah, they're definitely walking amongst us. There's lots of beings helping us here with Ascension right now, working in the
Mhm.
governments, working under the ground in the space around us, you know, in different frequency bands, some of them in physical bodies. We're getting loads of support, loads of.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And do we also have some of them here that are working against ascension, so to speak?
Working against Ascension. You could kind of look at it like that. I don't think they look at it like they're working against ascension. I think what they're trying to do is sustain themselves,
Okay.
because a lot of these negative beings, it's just they want to keep control because of the energy. So on this planet, we're humans that have not remembered our full potential, and so the game for them is playing it so that we don't remember our full potential. That's why they keep us in fear and guilt and anger and jealousy and all these low vibrational frequencies. Because when we're in these low vibrational states of consciousness, they can feed off of us. And the energy gets pulled into the grids, it gets sent to different locations. And some of them feed off it down in the earth, some of them feed off it on other planets. So the more souls they've got here in physical bodies, the more energy they've got to play with. But as we go through this ascension process, we start to move through the frequency fences, which were like invisible fences around the planet. And when you hit a frequency fence at a certain vibration, it kind of triggers the game. So the game will start to communicate with men, women, strangers, family members, and get them to say things and do things to try and annoy you and bring your vibration back down. And it's all automatic. But as we, start to understand the game, we can hit the frequency fences. Right, you know what? It's going a little bit chaotic right now. I think I've hit a frequency fence. I'm just going to stay very calm and present and slowly move through it. And as you move up to the next level, it's even harder for them to get you and bring you back down. So they go for lower hanging fruit. So they kind of want to stop the ascension process, but it's not so much they want to stop it. It's just they want to look after themselves, because these beings have messed up some of their own systems. So they need our energy to sustain themselves. So a lot of these beings are doing it through fear too. They're like, well, if I don't have enough energy, how can I feed myself? How can I sustain myself and my species? So they're just fighting for survival in a way.
Hmm. Interesting perspective. Thank you for that. Yeah. So interesting. And I also had got some kind of message from my guides at one point, like the more that we are in our authentic self, the less vulnerable we are to anyone, any being, any energy operating around doubt or fear or scarcity. Any insight on that?
Absolutely. I mean, when we're like unapologetically authentic and literally being who we are, there is no fear, because most of the fear comes from, like, when you say like, vulnerability is a beautiful thing. Like, so vulnerability is like the foundation for massive growth. But what a lot of humans are doing is trying to cover up their vulnerability. They don't want to show their guilt. They don't want to show their rejection. They don't want to show this kind of trauma. But when you allow yourself to just experience that trauma, and you show people that you're a little bit frightened of this or a little bit scared of that, then you've got nothing to hide. Like, I remember when I went back to one of my first public presentations, I was absolutely shitting myself. So I was like, I was gonna go home. I was sweating, my hands were sweating, I was perspiring. I was like, I can't do this. But I was like, right, what am I gonna do? So I went out on stage and I just shared to everybody. I said, guys, this is my first time I've spoke publicly, and I am shitting myself. And everybody laughed, and it broke the ice. And then I was exposed then, and there was nothing they could find out about me that would expose me even more. So I completely laid myself bare, and from that moment forwards I gained so much confidence. So I think being vulnerable is really important. And when you're vulnerable, there's no cracks in your armor, because that's when you become unapologetically authentic and you literally are who you are. And then you can just grow and become confident and courageous, and you are who you are, and you just love who you are. And when you love who you are, that's when you bloom like a flower and you just spread your magic. And when you're in that state, nothing can mess with you, because you just are,
Yeah.
you're completely sovereign, and you're not trying to cover up anything. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. When I started off this podcast, I just went straight towards vulnerability. I just went straight towards revealing my deepest, darkest secrets with compassion, with transparency and I was guided. I didn't know how powerful I was going to feel afterwards, but yeah, it's just like unapologetically myself, and it's just like there's nothing to lose now. It's just like it's all out there, and it's like, and what? I know who I am and I know who I'm not. Going back to that question earlier when I asked you, and And people ask me all the time, and I'm like, even though I'm as very transparent about my past, it's like I'm just not who I used to be. That was just an experience that my soul needed to experience. So I love that. Thank you for that.
That's
Love
cool.
that. Yeah.
And I think, like we are who we are at different stages of our life, like you were just saying, because you don't know who you're going to move into until you get there. So you've just got to have the experience of who you are right now. And it's not good or bad. It's just an experience. Like if you've got no judgment and you allow yourself to have that experience, it's not right. It's not wrong. It's just where you are at that point in space time. And then you kind of like, you learn some more, remember some more, you grow some more, and then you're a new human, a different version of yourself. And then that's beautiful too, because you're expanding.
Yeah. And then you have the wisdom from those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's gold to mine from every situation, but quite often we look at the grey cloud instead of seeing the silver lining.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What were your top books or maybe spiritual teachers that you learned from, or any kind of content that was really impactful during, the beginning of your journey or the middle of your journey?
Yeah, I remember like back 2004, like at the start of my spiritual journey, and me and my friends, we owned a property business in London, and we hired Bob Proctor to come along, and he spoke for the day. And afterwards, he gave me a book, and the book was called As a Man Thinketh. And it absolutely changed my perspective on the way to think. And there's like this one kind of quote in there, and it says, "In the bark of the soul reclines the commanding master. He does sleep, wake him. Self-control is strength, right thought is mastery, calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace be still." And that quote, like it's always stuck with me. And like if I always tune back into that and plug back into that. That book was amazing. I read Think and Grow Rich. They were a couple of the first books. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. They were my sort of introduction. Then I've read a gazillion books since.
Yeah.
The
What are you
of
reading
now.
right now?
You know what? Right now, I'm just reading a book called the Way of the Superior Man. So about 6 weeks ago, I was introduced to these cosmic grandfathers. They're like 70-foot beings in space, and they took me up to their realm, and they've been teaching me about the grandfather frequency. And so, like, what they're saying is like the father isn't mature enough to support the mother. But the grandfather is. So what we have to do as men is adopt this kind of grandfather frequency and this grandfather energy so we can support the divine mother, the divine feminine. So they've been sharing all of this wisdom with me. And then literally a couple of weeks later, someone introduced me to The Way of the Superior Man. I only got it a couple of weeks, so I've read it twice and I've listened to the audiobook twice. It's amazing. It really, really, really is absolutely just spot on when it comes to how a man can fully connect with a woman in the bestest possible way. Because a woman is for men and women are so different, and a man is electrical and a woman is magnetic. And if the man tries to be electrical around the woman, it's never gonna work. So the man has to tune into the woman's frequency and really understand where she's at. And men always try and fix things, but we can't fix things. We've just got to be present and be the mountain and allow the chaotic, magnetic, beautiful goddess to do whatever she needs to do and just hold space. So the book is about this in so many different ways, and I love it. Yeah, it's a brilliant book.
Oh, I
Everyone
love it.
on the internet should read it, and even women too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that because it's been on my list to, to read it for this year. So I'm probably going to get to it because I feel inspired now. That's amazing. So, as we wrap up, this conversation has been so activating, so enlightening. Is there anything else you want to leave us with? Any tips or message for humanity or suggestions?
We're a human family. And I think that, I don't think, I feel, I know that the best thing that we can all do is live from this present state of awareness with no judgment, and just show up fully, all in every single day, and just try and treat people the way that we want to be treated ourselves. Like love ourselves, honor and respect ourselves, and extend that love, honor, and respect to every other human being that we encounter. And just love everybody as
Mm.
much as you can. I know sometimes we get frustrated, we get angry, we tip out of that 0 point. And if it happens, don't beat yourself up. Just come back to that space of equilibrium and come back to love, and just keep refining yourself, keep bringing that pendulum back to the center. And if it ever does sway out, enjoy that process too, because it's offering you that contrast to remind you you need to be back in your heart space, back in your center. But just treat each other as brothers and sisters, and just, yeah, just love everybody as much as you
Mm.
possibly can. But love yourself first and foremost, because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to allow that love in from anyone else, because everyone's just going to mirror back to you that lack of self-love. So make sure you're doing the inner work, make sure you're diving into your heart on a daily basis. Do your meditation, do your breath work, do your intermittent fasting, do all the things that are going to make you a high frequency being, and don't take your foot off the gas. Keep going.
Yeah. So powerful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here. And your information will be in the description so people can connect with you. And yeah, thanks again. What a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's a pleasure, sister. Thank you.
Welcome. It's an honor.